Hey guys, it's Michelle from Cozyegg, and thank you so much for joining. This is actually episode 24. Today is Monday, February 13th. It's the day before Valentine's Day. I am well overdue for a video, and I apologize for that. I tried several times over the past couple of weeks to record, and it just didn't happen. So anyway, I'm here now. So let's get to it. I had a couple of things that I wanted to mention. So first of all, you can find me at my blog, cozyegg.cozyeggdesigns.com. You can also find me on Instagram, Twitter, etc., as Cozyegg. So feel free to follow me in all of the places. My YouTube channel is under Cozyegg. You can search for Cozyegg Flosstube, which I assume is how you got here in the first place. But anyway, so if you're a returning viewer, thank you again for tuning in. If this is your first time, thanks for checking me out. And that brings me to my next point. So when I went to my guild meeting the other day, my stitching guild, one of the lovely ladies there mentioned to me that she had started to watch one of my videos. And then her next comment was, "How long is this thing? I don't have time for that." So let me warn you ahead of time, particularly if this is your first time tuning in. This is going to be an hour. My videos are almost always an hour. If that doesn't work out for your schedule, feel free to not watch. I know for me personally, I love seeing Flosstube videos that are an hour. I have no issue with that. If I don't have an hour to spend in one go, that's okay too. Sometimes it takes me 2 or 3, mini watching sessions to get through an entire hour episode. But certainly if you don't have the time or the patience for sitting through an hour-long video about stitching, feel free to not watch. So, with that being said, let's get right on into it. And if you do like to sit through an hour-long video of someone talking about their stitching and showing their stitching progress, welcome. I'm so glad to have you here. So, finishes. Let's talk about finishes. So, my biggest finish, and for those of you who are anywhere on social media, you've already seen this, and you saw like my frantic, down to the wire trying to get this thing done, is Mermaid Fractor by Plum Street Samplers. And so this is, and of course, the camera changes the color as soon as I pull this up. Anyway, so this is by Plum Street Samplers. I think I just said that. It's Mermaid Fractor. And this is stitched on 36 count Picture This Plus earthen. And it's stitched with the called for colors, which are all Gentle Arts and Classic Colorworks. So it's a really beautiful piece. It was a really fun piece to stitch, even though it's a reverse image. So you're basically stitching the same thing twice. It didn't bother me. I really enjoyed stitching this. I especially love the mermaid tails. Those were fun. And I had a really good time stitching this. Really my only issue with it was that I was trying to get it done on a deadline, and I'm a slow stitcher, so I was feeling the pressure there at the end. So this is actually, I stitched this as a model for my L&S, which is the Stitch Niche in Arlington, Texas. And I am excited to get this handed over to them. And I was going to show you the threads. So oh, they're Weeks, not Gassed. Weeks and Classic Colorworks. So these are all the threads. And I mentioned this before in my last video, and I'm here now to confirm. So there are 2 colors that are called for in the chart. This Classic Colorworks Sunset and this Weeks Parchment. So let me show you where those are used. The Sunset is used for this 1 stitch for her lips, 1 stitch for her belly button. So 4 stitches total. That's it. The Parchment is used for the white of her eye and the white of her eye. That's it. Do not buy those colors. Use the DMC equivalent. Use something that works, that's, you know, relatively the same color that's already in your stash. I don't know why my nose is so red. Vodka. Anyway, actually I just have coffee, but don't buy those threads. Because for me personally, to stitch 4 stitches, if I had spent, you know, several dollars on a skein of thread and only used it for 2 stitches, I would not be happy. So that's your second public service announcement for this video. But anyway, this was a fun stitch. I know that several people have purchased this or are getting ready to start this. And it really was a lot of fun. And I love their hair. So anyway, so that is my big finish. And really, I was so anxious to get it done because I wanted to get it, you know, turned back into them so that they could take care of it. I had actually brought it to Guild in the hopes of having, you know, one of the folks there that I could give it to, and that didn't work out, but anyway, I will get it over to them as soon as possible so that they can get that framed and hung in the shop, which I'm excited about. What else did I finish? Oh, so I think that the last time I recorded, I think I was in the process of working on this. I don't think I had finished it, but I'm actually going to go a little backwards because I'm going to show you my work in progress, and then I'm going to show you my finish, and you'll understand why here in just a second. So after working on Mermaid Fracture and getting that finished, then I picked up one of my Year of Whips projects that was in the same bag, and really that's the reason why I picked it up, was because it was in the same bag. And it is Cuisine d'été, Summer Cuisine, by a French designer named Echevet. And it's a sweet little piece. The original was stitched on this raw, you know, like a raw natural linen. And I decided that I wanted to stitch mine on something a little more fun. So, and I think I showed this to you last time. So I'm stitching mine on 32 count Joblin by Silk Weaver. This is called Lemon Zest, and I just love this fabric. It's so pretty. It's like a buttery yellow, and I think that the red and the white and the green just completely pop on it. I did change the white. I went with the B5200 so that it would really pop against the yellow, rather than just plain, plain white. So I picked this up and worked on it. So I finished Mermaid Fractor last Tuesday. And then I picked this up and basically stitched Cozyegg in there. That's what I got done. So I worked on this, I guess, a couple of nights. And then my skull needle minder, which I thought was perfect because it's got the red and the green on there. So I picked this up and worked on it a couple of nights, and then I got to thinking that I actually had another piece that, oh, and I'm stitching that in DMC. I guess I wasn't clear about that. I picked up another piece that I had been working on for a while. It's a small little piece, but for some reason I was just having a hard time getting it finished. But it is a gift, and so I decided, you know what, I'm just gonna see if I can knock that out. So my intention had been that I would work on Cuisine d'Ete until Friday, when I would like normally switch over to a new project, and I was all gung-ho to switch over to Mystery 9 and get started on working on it again. And I was really excited to really start kind of digging into my Year of Whips pieces. But then I thought, you know what, and like I said, I'm drinking coffee. So, I was gonna work on Mystery 9, but then I decided, you know what, I should probably just take a couple days, whip this thing out, get it finished. So then that's another thing that's off of my plate, because I would really like to give it to the person that it's intended for, rather than it being, even more late than it already is. So I worked on that. I got that finished yesterday morning, even with having made, I got almost down to the bottom of it, realized I was off a row, so then I had to rip back and then restitch all of that again, but I managed to finish it up yesterday morning, which I'm really pleased about. And so then, of course, it's Sunday night, and I knew, obviously, today is the 13th of the month, so for Dark 13 stitching, I knew I was going to want to pull out my Halloween neighborhood round robin and start on my next block for it. So at this point, it was like, I might as well just pull that out and start working on it, rather than working on Mystery 9 one night and then switching to, so anyway, this is why my videos are an hour long. Anyway, I decided to just start Dark 13 stitching a day early. So last night I pulled out my Halloween neighborhood round robin and decided to get started on my next block. So my next block is going to be the cemetery block, block 12 from Village of Hawkrun Hollow. And so you may remember that when I originally stitched, this was my block on my round robin piece. And so I originally stitched it on my piece, sent it off, it got hijacked, started over on a new piece, and I never restitched my block because I was in such a hurry to get it out the door and get it to folks so that they could start stitching on it. So I've never stitched my block on it. And so I thought, since I was already working on Village of Hawkrun Hollow, and during Dark October stitching, I had, counted down to get to block 12 so that I could stitch the cemetery block during Dark October stitching, I thought, this is really kind of the perfect time to also stitch that block on my Halloween round robin because I've got the threads out, etc. So anyway, this is my original block that was on my original piece. I've cut this out, and I'm going to just finish it as a little pillow or bowl filler kind of thing at some point. But this is my original block. So you will notice that this looks very different than the block that's actually in Village of Hawk Run Hollow. For one thing, that block has a black background. I obviously pulled the background out because I wanted this to fit in with my neighborhood. So no background, bats are black. I did not put the little stars and the moon that are in here in the block. And the other thing that I did was, because this was going to be down on the bottom right-hand corner of my piece, I flipped the tree. So the tree's on the other side. So in the regular block, it's, you know, over here. So anyway, so this is my original block, and very happy with it. So I'm essentially restitching this as is on my new piece. And so I started this last night, and I did not get very far, but I got a few little stitches in, so that's my start. So I've just started on those hills and doing the fill in there. And my new piece is on, I think it's 35 count. Country Mocha, maybe, by Kiwi Fabrics, something like that. I don't have it written down. Anyway, it'll be in the show notes on my blog afterwards if you're curious. So I got that started. I think it will actually go pretty quickly. I didn't stitch a ton last night, so I'm going to work more on that tonight, obviously for Dark 13 stitching, and I'll get the rest of this hill filled in, and then I can start on my tree and on my tombstones. But I'm excited to get that piece, that block in, because I have plans for more cemetery stuff that I'm going to stitch in. And so once I get that piece in, then I can start to kind of fill in around it. So I'm looking forward to that. But the reason that I wanted to skip over to works in progress before showing you finishes is that I have to take the Q-snap off so I can show you my other block that I finished. So I don't think I showed this last time. I think it was still in progress. So I did finish my Bright Needle Ghoulies and Ghosties, that Witch House block. And I'm thrilled with how it turned out, although there's a thread on it. So I think it turned out really cute. Really cute. I love the ghost in the window and that ghost smoke and the bats and the spider. I just think that's so cute. I'm really happy with how it turned out. So at this point, here's kind of the whole thing. Got my By the Light of the Moon that I did down here, and the Bright Needle house that I stitched. Pardon me, my stand is apparently getting in the way of someone's nap. So the Bright Needle piece is where I pulled out that stitching that was previously done and stitched over that, and then my cemetery block is down here at the bottom in that corner. So yeah, I'm really excited about how that's coming along, and I think once I get that cemetery block in there, for me, I think it'll be kind of a relief to get that piece in, that block in, because then I will feel like it's kind of back to, you know, where it should have been, maybe, if that makes sense. Since my other piece was, you know, yeah, anyway. So I'm going to work on that tonight for Dark 13 stitching. I will probably just keep working on that for the rest of the week. And then on Friday, I'm going to officially, hopefully, start my actual rotation and work on Mystery 9, because I'm really, really, really anxious to work on one of my chatelaines. At Guild the other night, we had, for the program, it was, you know, bring like your favorite piece that you've ever stitched, and then talk a little bit about why it's your favorite piece. And so I actually brought my MIDI Mystery 1, or the Medieval Herb Garden, which is Chatelaine Designs, and there's a picture of it on Instagram from a little while ago. Anyway, so I brought that piece, and I talked a lot about, you know, having a degree in art history and being really interested, obviously, in history and art, and, you know, those time periods and everything. That was really, really exciting to me, to start to, you know, to stitch on that as a design. And I also talked a lot about how that piece was kind of a pivotal piece for me. And the reason being is that when I first discovered blogs, stitching blogs in particular, the first blog that I ever read and followed was TKD Danny. And I'm sure, you know, anybody that's been around in the stitching community for any period of time is familiar with Danny and her blog. And, you know, I immediately, once I started reading it, I, of course, obsessively went back and read everything from the beginning, as one does. And, you know, she was stitching on chatelaines, and the more that I saw her work on those pieces, the more I became enamored, and I was just like, I have to do one of these. They're beautiful, and, you know, I've never seen anything like this before. So when I saw that, you know, Martina was offering her first 6-month mystery, which is why it's called MIDI Mystery 1, instead of a full 12-month mystery, I thought this is a good piece for me to, you know, dip my toe in with. And I knew it wasn't going to be a mandala like the other ones, but that it was going to be based on, you know, a specific time period, the medieval time period, and based on an herb garden, that sort of thing. And so I was like, great, I'm in. And then I remember, you know, all of the anxiety that I had about doing an online class. And, you know, at the time, I mean, it sounds so silly now, but at the time I was frantic. You know, I was so anxious about the fact that, would I be able to get into the group? Would I be able to download the pattern? Would I be able to print it off correctly? You know, was I going to have a problem with all of these specialty stitches and, you know, silk thread, because it was one of my first times ever working with silk threads. I'd never really used Delicas, certainly never used Swarovski crystals. Was I going to be able to actually do this? Was I going to be able to technically, you know, finagle the pattern and all that good stuff? So it was, you know, it was really nerve-wracking there at first, but you know, obviously it worked out, and I kept up with it. I finished that piece, you know, at the end of that year, beading and all, and then I had it framed by, and now her name totally escapes me, Jill Rensel. Jill Rensel. So it has a hand-painted mat on it, you know, the whole 9 yards. And so it's a very important piece to me. And so that's the one that I brought. And then I also brought my Mystery 9 to show that I was working on. That one was my very first, 12-month mystery, my first mandala. And of course, here it is 10 years later and it's not done. So that's why it's on my Year of Whips challenge this year, because it is getting done this year regardless. So my plan is, so back to the original point of my story, my plan is that I'm going to work on my Halloween round robin until Friday, and then on Friday I'm going to switch and I'm going to work on Mystery 9 for the next week. And then at that point I should be able to, get into my groove with a rotation and do that, because I don't have any other obligation stitching. So I should be able to focus completely on my Year of Whips pieces. And my Halloween round robin is actually not a Year of Whips challenge. And the reason that I didn't really make it one of my challenge pieces is because I knew I was probably going to work on it every 13th of the month, certainly during, dark October stitching. So I wasn't overly concerned about it. So, and I'm so excited that I have my love rekindled of that piece, and it's actually getting attention that, I don't have any fear that it's going to fall by the wayside. So, and speaking of whips, so, I did something the other day that I wanted to share and just kind of get your thoughts on. There's been, of course, there's always a lot of talk about how many whips you have and how many are too many, etc., all of that stuff. And, for me, what I am finding is the more whips that I have, the same with the more stash that I have, the more whips that I have, it weighs on me. And so that's one reason why I'm really trying to whittle down the amount of stash that I have. I'm really trying to whittle down the number of whips that I have and finish things. And because I am, more finish oriented than I am a process stitcher, I'm a product stitcher as opposed to a process stitcher. It's important to me to have those finished pieces and to have them, mark them off my list. And even more exciting for me than starting something new is when I finish something and I get to put my threads away. Like, I love that. I love that feeling of saying, done with this goes away, this goes back. I love that feeling. So anyway, so I had been watching, and so shout outs, I'll just kind of throw that in here. I had been watching Stash Queen and her videos. I just recently started watching her videos, and I had actually watched a couple of her recent ones and then decided I was going to go back and kind of start from the beginning, because that way I get the whole story. So, obviously I know, where she's at with doing her, project and new start every day, year of starts thing. And she's in year 2 of doing that. And, when I first heard that, I was like, that's crazy. As I'm sure most people think. Especially when I was seeing, that if she worked on something and started something brand new every single day, how little stitching you can actually get done on a piece each day. And, I was really impressed with her, organization and how she works on things in alphabetical order. And she was, switching each day and pulling the next thing in the list and, all of that. Like, I was very impressed with the organization, and she's got that down pat now. So I was curious how she got there, which is one reason why I went back and started watching her original videos. So when she was talking about her, Stitch Mania pieces and how she had gone from 11 whips to, 50 some odd, you know, but she had her process for working through them. And she reiterated several times that she is a process stitcher, that, you know, it's more about the act of doing the stitching than it is about having to finish pieces. And, you know, she really enjoys what she does. She's really enjoying new starts and getting to see things come up in her rotation, you know, and I loved her idea of, you know, for anything that she was trying to, you know, get some good progress on for some of the sowls and stuff, that she was doing like an hour of that a day. And then, you know, for the rest of her stitching time that day, she would work on, you know, whatever was up in the rotation. But it really got me to thinking about, you know, my own process, I guess, and, you know, kind of how I'm feeling about all of the whips that I have. And I have a whole butt ton of whips. So here's what I did. I went through my spreadsheet, and someone had commented on one of my previous videos and asked about, you know, seeing my spreadsheet, and I apologize that I don't think I ever responded to that. My intention was to figure out some way to show you what my spreadsheet looks like, and then, you know, I saw something shiny and never got back to it. But anyway, so when I look at my spreadsheet, you know, I have one tab that is whips, and I've got them, you know, in date order of when they were started. And when I go and I look at that list, you know, it stresses me out. So what I did was I went through all of my whips, and anything that I had not worked on in the last 5 years, I recategorized. I don't quite feel like they should be categorized as UFOs. I don't quite feel like they should be categorized as give-ups, as Jimmy Flosstube says. But I also did not think that they really should be categorized as active whips. So I left anything that I had worked on or started in the past 5 years as active whips. And so when I looked at that, I think it, you know, that knocked it down to where I have, I don't know, 22 or something. It's some, you know, it was kind of 50-50. And I think I've got 50 some odd whips. So that gave me, you know, about 25 active whips and about 25, you know, that had not seen the light of day in a long time. And so where I really want to focus my attention is on those pieces that have seen the light of day in the last 5 years, and start working through those. And as I start to work through those, through my Year of Whips challenge or whatever, then by the time that I get to the other ones that haven't seen the light of day in a long time, I think I will be better able to make a really hard determination of, are these still things that I want to finish? Are they still things that I want to work on? And for some of them, that may be a no. I have a Haid in there, and I just lost my light again. Dang it. Let me see if I can fix it. Sorry, you're getting kind of up close and personal here. Talk amongst yourselves. Why don't you want to work? We just don't want to work, Michelle, because that would be way too easy. Huh. I may edit this out. I may not. We'll see. But look, we have light again. Okay, so clearly I'm gonna have to like charge that puppy up a little more before I try to record. Okay, so where was I? So anyway, I recategorized my whips. That made me feel a little better. I don't know if it was just from the shuffling, but I figured if I focused on a smaller number of pieces, then the chances were a little better that I would actually get something done. So anyway, so I talked about finishes. I'm all over the place tonight. I talked about finishes, talked about whips, talked about my next plans for when I rotate. And let's see. Shout outs. I've been watching Stash Queen. I watched Heather Stitches and Lindy Stitches and Ashley EM. Enjoyed their videos. So many videos. So little time. And I talked about my, I talked about my plans for stitching. So I had a little bit of stash to show. Don't get too excited, it's not that much, but I still wanted to share it. So I've been watching, a lot of people have been using, getting that two-sided big box to put their DMC in that will fit the whole line. And I thought a lot about getting that. Mine are currently, like my DMCs are on bobbins and they're in those plastic boxes, but they're in the, those size boxes. So I think I have 4 of them. I did think briefly about whether or not I should, go for it and get one box that holds all my DMC. But then it occurred to me that I think that is probably super, super helpful for someone that only stitches at home or primarily stitches at home. For me, I stitch at Guild, I bring stitching with me, so on and so forth. And so I'm always pulling my threads to put them with a specific project. So it didn't really make sense to kind of reconfigure my whole situation. So what I did do though is I was winding some bobbins the other day. I needed to get some more bobbins. I used the plastic ones. So I got some more of those. And then while I was at it, I thought, you know what? I probably really should start filling in my DMC that I don't have so that I can get like a full set. And so, on the little sticker, the number stickers that you can get to put on your bobbins, what I did was I looked at one piece of it, one side of it, and anything that I still had stickers on the sheet, I put on my list to get. And so these are the ones that I got that I did not already have. And these are all in the 400, 500 range. I won't go through all of them. Oh, I guess there's some 600s, 700s in here too. But I just thought they were pretty. And so I just got the ones that I was still missing off that one sheet. And I figure, then the next time I go to Joann's, or Michael's, I will, have my list of what I'm missing off one of the next sheet. And I'll just start to fill in that way, because I do love the idea of having a full set of DMC so that I know that I have every color. I really like that idea. So, and that was the other thing that I didn't mention. So my whips that I have not worked on, in the last 5 years, I have started to go through and pull threads out of those. Because it seems silly to have threads, you know, kitted up with pieces that haven't seen the light of day in that long. So anyway, so I'm starting to pull thread. That's what made me think about that and why I was winding bobbins. The other thing is a little thing that I ordered actually at the end of the year that just came in and I had to share. So this is more for the knitting folks among you. But Sucra Miniatures, who makes stitch markers, she makes the cutest stitch markers. And I think I've shown my macaron stitch marker that I have. So as I was working on my Joan of Arc, my Wyatt shawl, I thought, you know, this is oranges and blacks and, you know, the whole reds and, you know, yellows, that whole color scheme. And my pink macaron does not work with it. So I thought, you know what I need? I need a Halloween stitch marker. And so I went out to Sucra Miniatures and looked at her shop, and she had Halloween stitch markers, of course, and had my eye on one. But it was getting towards, you know, Christmas or something that I knew she would probably have a sale, have a discount of some sort. And so I held off on ordering one. Well, by the time that I got around to finally ordering it, they were gone. So I picked out the cutest thing and it was gone. So then she had up, you know, limited edition Christmas related things. And so I ordered one of those. So this is it is a little gumdrop cupcake stitch marker. See the little gumdrops on the top there? Is that not the cutest thing? I just freaking had to have it. And it doesn't go on my shawl either, but it's darling. So anyway, yeah, had to have it. So gumdrop stitch marker, cupcake stitch marker. Anyway, so I will be using that on something. And so the reason that this just came in is because obviously these are handmade items, and so there was a bit of a, you know, delay on when she was filling new orders, which, you know, she tells you up front, she tells you how much of a delay it's going to be, you know, etc. And when she gets ready to ship your order, she lets you know. So excellent customer service. This is the second time I've ordered from her, and I've been thrilled both times. Then, not too long ago, she had those Halloween cupcakes again available, and so I finally got one this time. So it will be here at some point, and then I can put it on my shawl. But yeah, it's a Halloween cupcake with a little witch's hat on the top. How cute is that? So anyway, had to have it. I'm totally jealous of Suburban Stitcher, who has like all the cupcake charms. So I decided I needed cupcake charms too. But anyway, her website is sucraminiatures.com. Too cute. Donuts, croissants, cupcakes, yeah. So cute. Anyway, so I'm thrilled with that. That's my stash. That's my stash haul. Love it. Anyway, so what else is going on? Oh, so I wanted to share just really quick. I know I haven't shared any framed framed stitching at all lately. So I do have a piece that I want to show you. And then also, while I'm thinking about it, because I've meant to mention it the last 2 times I recorded and I totally forgot. So this is my 3rd public service announcement of this video, and we're only 45 minutes in. So, for those of you that remember, a while ago I showed my framed Garden of Erie piece that I stitched by Plum Street Samplers. And I think Emily Eclectic Possessions, you know, when she watched the video, she said that she had to like stop the video, go and place an order, and then come back and resume the video. So, but it's the, you know, Frankenstein and Bride of Frankenstein and the Garden of Eden, you know, kind of take on things, called Garden of Erie. So I've mentioned this, I think on Judy's Instagram. She, you know, mentioned that she just got the chart, and I think McKenna has it as well. And so I want to make sure everybody knows. So if you're going to stitch Garden of Erie, the center that is marked on the chart is not the center. So if you are not a center starter, if you start in a corner, you're fine, don't worry about it. If you are a center starter, just be aware of that, and you can recount and figure out where your center is, and it's not a problem. I am not typically a center starter. I typically start on one of the corners. When I was stitching that piece, I had a small-ish piece of fabric that I knew would fit, but I knew it was going to be tight. And so I decided I would start in the center, because that would be the smart thing to do, just to make sure that I have it exactly positioned. Yeah, obviously that didn't work out. So I think what the problem is that on the chart, she has the chart for the design, and then below that she has charted an alphabet that you can use for your personalization. And I think that her charting software counted all of that as the design. And so it's calculating that alphabet into, you know, where that center is. So it's fine this way, but it is not fine this way. So just be aware of that. Anyway, if you don't start in the center, it's not a big deal. You won't ever notice it. If you do start in the center, you're welcome. So anyway, on that note, so since tomorrow is Valentine's Day, I wanted to show a piece that I just recently framed. Unfortunately, it has a little boo-boo that is going to have to be fixed, which I will show you in a minute. But I thought since it's Valentine's Day, it was kind of the perfect piece to show you. So I may have mentioned this before, but I tend to stitch something for Eric for Valentine's Day or for our anniversary, and we have several pieces that are hanging in our bedroom. And I actually recorded a little video of me showing you the different pieces that are up in the bedroom. So I'm going to try to tack that on here to the end of this video so that you can see that. It's just a little quick thing where I show you what's up there. But there was one other piece that I just recently framed that is now hanging upstairs, but I wanted to show it to you. So this is, let's see if I can do it without glare. This is Souvenir Sampler, or Camille's Sampler, by the Sampler Girl. And at the time that I first saw this, it was a freebie pattern. I think that it was since released as a pattern. And it actually called for the Vicki Clayton hand-dyed fibers, those silks. So that's what it's stitched with in the called for colors. And, you know, When I saw this piece, I absolutely fell in love with it. I immediately ordered the thread pack for it from Vicki Clayton, and then I didn't start it for forever. But then I finally started it, and actually the year that I started it, I don't even remember what year it was, but it was where everybody was doing like 15 starts in January, and so this was one of my January starts. But I really love this piece. It was a really fun piece to stitch. I have no idea what fabric this is. I think it's a 32 count silk weaver. No clue. Anyway, but it has this quote on it, which I'm gonna have to turn around to read you. Obviously it says souvenir at the top. And the quote says, "The essential thing is to be moved, to love, to hope, to tremble, to live." And so this sampler, the reason that it's called Camille's sampler is that it is based on Camille, who was the artist Rodin's mistress. And so the way that this piece right here is designed is that it was actually the year that she designed it, so like 2008 something, I don't know. I put the year that the two of them met here, 1883. So, and this is a quote by her. So I just loved it. I loved stitching this piece. It was a fun piece to stitch. And unfortunately, we had some carpet guys come to fix the carpet in our bedroom. I'm not sure what happened here, but I'm not happy about it. So this is gonna have to be fixed. And I had held off on showing it to you because I was hoping to have this fixed before I showed it to you. But yeah, anyway. So love this piece, Sampler Girl, Camille Sampler. It's just a fun little piece, and it, you know, I think there's only like 4 or 5 different colors in here. You know, there's like a pink, a lavender, a brown, a green, and a gold, I think. Anyway, I just thought it was perfect for Valentine's Day, and it is now hanging upstairs with all of my other love pieces for Eric. So, which hopefully, like I said, I will tack on to the end of this video so you can see them. And anyway, I think that's all I got to talk about. 52 minutes, even with that, you know, little interlude there in the middle. So, thank you so much for joining, and thank you so much for watching and for leaving such sweet, sweet comments. I really appreciate it. And thank you to those that that laughed with me about me starting on the back of my piece. Oh crap, that's the other piece I was going to show you. Oh well, my Williamsburg remembered. You'll see it next time. It's got a little more progress on it, but not much. But it is all on the front, so there's that. Anyway, I really appreciate those of you that, you know, that leave really sweet comments, and that we can laugh together about things. And certainly, you know, it is not my intention to waste anyone's time. And certainly if you don't have the patience to sit through a video that's of any length, don't. Nobody forcing you to. So, anyway, I will hopefully see you guys again in a couple weeks, and I will have at that point made some good progress on my cemetery block on my neighborhood, and also will have worked on my mystery sampler. I mean, on Mystery 9, which I guess is a mystery sampler, but Mystery 9, my chatelaine. So, anyway, so happy Valentine's Day. I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and no matter who is in your life or is not in your life at this point, you are your own best Valentine. So treat yourself well, and thanks for tuning in, guys. See you next time. Bye. Hey guys, it's Michelle. I thought I would do a quick little video, and I'm going to see if I can edit this into one of my regular videos. But I thought I'd do a quick video and show you a couple of stitched pieces that I have up in our bedroom. So I try to stitch something for Eric or make him something for Valentine's Day each year, and so that's mostly what you're going to see here. So you can see on this little wall, this is just inside the door of our bedroom. I've got a couple of hearts here, and excuse the creaky floor. This is actually one of those, I don't know how to say it, but like one of those kind of German cookies, you know, that are in the little forms. And this was a gift from someone. And I just loved the two little birds and the heart, and so I thought it was perfect to hang here in our bedroom. Of course, as soon as Eric saw it, he said, "Why is there a stale cookie hung on the wall?" But anyway, I thought it was sweet. And then this is a heart that I bought for him one year that I thought was a nice addition here in the bedroom. So, and it's metal, maybe pewter or something. And then this is a stitched piece that I did a while back. This is actually by the Sampler Girl, and it's called My Everything, I think. It's been so long. And I stitched this with a Belle Soie tulip. And then this was a pre-made, like a ready-made frame that had quote unquote art in it. And so I just ripped the art out and put my piece in there, and it fit perfectly. So then I put our initials there at the bottom. That doesn't want to focus, so it's a little blurry. Let's see if I can get, there we go, much better. But that's our initials over one and the year that I stitched it for him. So that's one piece, and then I'm going to kind of swing around here. Hope I don't make you too dizzy. Over here, I've got a couple other pieces. This one it was a freebie from Primitive Needle called Hand and Heart, and I stitched this. It called for 40 count dill, picture this plus, with the called for colors. This was a freebie actually, and I just love this piece. And then the frame, I don't know if you can see that, has a little bit of red in it to kind of pick up those red pieces. Sorry for the reflection. And then this piece is Blackbird Designs. It was loose feathers from several years ago called Where My Heart Blooms. And I actually stitched this on, I think this may be on my infamous piece of 36 count vintage meadow rue that I was cutting up. I think this is another piece from that. And I did this with a Belle Soie conversion that another stitcher came up with, and I really loved how it looked. So there's that, and obviously I did that one in 2010. Home is Where My Heart Blooms. Love that piece. And this frame has a little bit of red in it too, little accents of it. If you can kind of see that a little bit. So that's another piece. And yes, it's been a few years since I stitched another piece for him that's framed. So this is what you get. And while I'm here, I will show you really quickly. This is a hand quilted piece that a friend of mine made for us as a wedding gift. So you can see the little flowers in it. And all the cross hatching, this was all done by hand. Love that. So, and then here I keep a whole bunch of quilts. This is our wedding quilt, and it shows there. I've shown this on my blog before, but it shows our wedding date, and instead of doing a guest book, I did quilt blocks, so everybody signed quilt blocks and wrote a little message, and then I finished them into a quilt. And then I've got several more kind of piled back here that you've probably seen. So these just all kind of live here. And then this piece, which I think I've shown on another Flosstube, this is a block. I'm trying not to get me in the, in the video. This is a block from Village of Hawk Run Hollow that I stitched last April for our anniversary, and it was actually our 9-year anniversary, which is the willow anniversary, and so that's why I stitched this piece for him. Let's see if I can get it to, there we go, better. So I loved the little willow trees in it, and the little stained glass windows in the church, so I put our wedding date there. And this was, again, a prefab frame, mats and everything that I found like at Michael's or Julian's or something, and it worked perfectly. So there you go. And so that's all the stitching that I have up here, but I just thought I would take a couple minutes and show you guys, give you a little tour, so that you can see a few of these pieces that live elsewhere. All right, bye.